I have been around your church before. You may have seen me, you may not. You may have intentionally forgotten me, that's okay. But I did speak here, I think, a couple of years ago, and maybe a year before that as well. And I've been invited back, so that's good. They've either forgotten what I was like, or they like me, so that's okay. I do come from Lifestyle Church in town in Gladstone, and I've been there for about 9 years. On and off doing some youth stuff for the last 5 years, sort of specifically looking after our youth and young adults there and keeping those guys alive more than anything, and just giving them life and giving them hope into the days and the society and culture around them. And I know, no matter what stage of life you're in, no matter how old or young you may be, that life can be hard. And it's no easier today than it was yesterday, and it's not like it's, kids don't know how hard I had it, or they don't know how easy I had it. Life is just continually moving, and it's so important to continually be addressing and continually looking into ways that we engage with the world, with the ways that we interact, and the ways that we live out our lives. And that's basically my role. I am a full-time cabinet maker, and no, I don't want to fix your kitchen. So right at the end, so you forget about it. We go, oh, you're a cabinet maker. No. Even my mum, I had to make a shelf for my mum last week. Unreal. I live a full life, and like many of you, I've got a lot of hats, I've got a lot of things going on, and one of the ways that I look after myself is I go to the gym. And I mean, people who go to the gym want to tell you they go to the gym, and I understand that already makes you uncomfortable because I'm telling you I go to the gym, but I've earned the right to tell you I go to the gym because I've been going for about 2 years now. So it's not, yeah, thanks a lot. It's not like 2 weeks. You'd think you'd see more change, wouldn't you? I love going to the gym. It's like, it's my space, it's my thing, it's not always comfortable, but I can just go there and I can have my time doing my thing, and it's good for me physically and emotionally and all the rest of it. And recently, something happened. I noticed something. I was in there, pumping iron like that, and working on my guns, and I was sitting there, and every gym is like this, right? They have mirrors everywhere. But there is no way, you can't even open your eyes without seeing 7 versions of yourself. It's just like it reflects off everywhere, and it's like one of those crazy house of mirror places. And so I'm standing there, and I've got the dumbbell, and it's probably like 4 kilos. And as I'm curling it, I look alright. I don't know if you've ever caught your reflection before and thought, I'm doing better than I thought I was. I don't think I'm a strong guy, but actually might be growing a muscle somewhere in there. And so I was feeling really good. And I went home, and I kicked through the door, and I was like, welcome home, I'm here. Looked in the reflection and went, wait, somewhere on the way home it leaked. And it wasn't there anymore, and I was, that's weird, whatever. Went back to the gym, and over the next few days I began to realize that every time I was in this one spot pumping iron, I had this overwhelming feeling that I looked stronger than I thought I did. And I was feeling pretty good about it. I mean, I'll be honest, I started to spend more time there. And then I realized something. Has anyone ever been to one of those crazy house of mirror places? Or maybe the science museum where they've got the weird shaped things and gives you a little teeny tiny head or a long body, or this part goes that way and then this part goes that way, and it's fun to look at. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but where the muscle stuff is in my gym, the mirrors are just slightly curved. And you know what that does? It gives you bigger muscles. It's not a problem, it's a solution. And I've been adjusting my mirrors at home, that's not true. You see, what we need to realize, I just find it fascinating that I've known myself for a long time now, all my life. And in just a few short glances, I started to change my perception of myself. amazing that just looking in a mirror can totally change everything? Like, have you ever woken up in the morning and seen a side of yourself and your whole day is ruined? No? Just me. Okay. It's great. It's great. What we need to realize is this, that the reflections in our life dictate our perceived reality of our life. And you know this because you wake up and everything's okay. And then you look in the mirror and there's that thing that's not quite right. Or perhaps there's something that's a pimple. If I work with teenagers, their life is over. I've got a pimple on my face. Like, I am on the back foot. And just a simple reflection suddenly changes and everything is tipped upside down in just a moment. We base our view of ourselves on the reflections around us. Think about it. When was the last time you looked at your face without a reflection? You can't. Joke, it's okay. The biggest mirrors in our life, though, aren't actually surfaces of glass, but they're circles of people. Relationships are reflective. The people around you are reflective. And just like we do in the mirror in the bathroom, we look at people to see who we are. Subconsciously, we don't even realize we're doing it often, but the way people speak about us, the way people engage with us, the way people treat us, changes and gives us our perceived reality of us. Yeah. It's crazy. Because here's where the problem starts, is when we fail to realize that not every reflection coming back at you is pure. Not every reflection that you look at is actually accurate. I want to pray for just a second. God, I just thank you so much that you are here, that you are present, and that you are working in these incredible people's lives. Lord, I pray that right now, remove anything that would hold back your word from speaking into their lives. And Lord, I pray even as I speak, that you would speak through me into their lives. Fill me right now with what it is that I need so that I can do what it is I'm going to do here this morning. In your name, mighty and precious name. Amen. Amen. All right. 1 Corinthians 13:12. Now we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror. But then, talking about the end of your life, we will see everything with perfect clarity. Have you ever looked back on something and gone, wasn't what I thought it was? All I know now is partial and incomplete. But then I will know everything completely, just as God now knows me completely. Growing up, I had great parents, honestly. I had a dad who mirrored back to me a great sense of self-worth. And when I didn't quite achieve the way that I wanted to achieve, he would encourage me and tell me that, you know what, mate, it's okay. I saw you doing your best, and I am so proud of you. Or when I was upset, he's like, hey, you know what? You were being a great friend, and that's okay. That's what you need to do. Don't worry about what other people treat you like or call you or how that experience happened, because this is who you are. I had a great dad. I had great parents that did that. And as a father right now, I have 3 children and a wife. And I have 3 children, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 0-year-old. And they consume a lot of energy. Like, that's full time. But I am really, really careful the way that I speak to them, because the thing with kids is they don't know who they are, and even more scarily, they believe that you do. And so the way that we speak to people, young people especially, begins to shape and adjust and give them their perception of who they are. And so that's a big responsibility. And as a dad, I don't take that lightly and try to be as intentional as I can, telling them how amazing they are even when it doesn't look that way. Like, anyone who's been a parent is like, you're a kind person, remember? Remember? Yeah, every day. Sadly though, for many people, this, I guess, experience of being told who they are and listening to the people around them and believing that others know who they are doesn't change when they reach adulthood. And we go into life and we continue life believing that I don't really know who I am, but everyone else does. Even subconsciously, we begin to allow the people and the environments around us to shape and describe and to reflect back to us who we think we are. Too many of us, though, have past relationships that give us a totally distorted view of who we are. And sadly, we've heard things like, you're always in the way. You're a pathetic employee. You'll never be any good. You're lazy. You know what? You're not rich enough. You know what? You're not big enough. You're not cute enough. You're not, Lockie's never heard that, but you're not masculine enough. You're not enough. Many of us have grown up with these reflections coming back at us, and sooner or later, somewhere along the line, we've started to believe that we aren't enough, and that is our identity, and we've lived from this place for too long. Too many lives are being lived believing that they are less than, not because of who they truly are, but because of a distorted, dirty, or damaged reflection from the people around them. And maybe even right now, you've got some doubts about yourself. Maybe even, you know you. I know me. And I just want you to stop and ask the question to yourself. Are perhaps those ideas that you have about yourself things that have come from distorted images? Because too often, we don't realize that the distortion even exists. And we start to believe that is who we really are. Even to the point where when someone tells us who we really are, we don't believe them. You ever had someone tell you, like, you're a legend? You go, if you knew me, probably wouldn't say that. Or someone say, you know what? You are the kindest person I've ever met. Not how everyone else experiences me, but I'm glad you had that encounter. Or someone says, you're this, or you're that, and this little part of you goes, if you really knew me, you'd know that wasn't true. And so we become so accustomed to this distorted reflection that we begin to doubt even when we do hear the right reflection. And it's no wonder that we continue into life with all sorts of torment and conflict on the inside. We are created. We are created to interact, engage, and to love the people around us. That's what we're created for. We're created to engage with people. This means though, you're going to meet some pretty crazy shaped mirrors. Like, I know people with little heads and big pops. Like, that was a joke again. You will engage with people who reflect some strange things back to you. Yeah. And if you're not careful, that will become your belief as to who you are. And here's what really makes me sad, is that too often, because of the distorted image coming back to us, we try to adjust ourselves so that the image in that mirror looks normal, whatever that is. And so the only way to look normal in a distorted mirror is to distort yourself. You have to do these ones just so that you look normal in what's coming back to you. And many people in life are going through life with legs up in weird spots and a neck that is all out of place and a heart that's twisted because we're trying to make the image being reflected back to us look normal, failing to realize that the mirror's not right. That what they said wasn't actually right. The only way to look normal in a distorted mirror is to distort who you are. The reflections of people in our life, even the good ones, rarely describe who we actually are. Every single relationship that you have has a distortion in it. Even your best friend, even your spouse, even those trusted people. And it's not that they're bad people. I'm just telling you that the people around you have a distortion, and sometimes it's so subtle that we don't even notice it. And we can be left thinking that we are someone that we actually aren't.
Yeah.
And trying to adjust ourselves to fix something that was never ours to fix in the first place. The reflections in our lives rarely describe who we truly are. There's always distortion. And when the outward appearance becomes our identity, and it becomes who we are only a moment away from everything falling apart. When the things around us become who we are, it only takes one experience, one encounter, one bad thing to happen, and our whole identity of who we are is rocked.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know who I am anymore. And not in a good way, a terrible way. The love we have for ourselves and the others around us rests on this fragile foundation of achievements and experiences. And it's been that way since the beginning. Genesis 2, verse 25, it says this, "Now the man and his wife were both naked and they felt no shame." Woo! What a life. They're living the life. But just 6 verses later, like not long, and one really dumb decision, and everything changes. Look at this in chapter 3, verse 7. It says, "At that moment, their eyes were opened and they suddenly felt shame at their nakedness. So they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves." And we see them respond in the same way that we respond to shame today. They begin trying to cover up the outside to hide something that's going on the inside. And they adjust their appearance out here so that the people out there won't know how really they are in here and what's going on behind the fig leaves in their life. And so many of us are running around doing good stuff. There's nothing wrong with fig leaves, I think. I don't know. Maybe they're itchy. I don't know. But here's the thing. We can be doing good stuff. You can be contributing in good ways to the community and into your family and into all sorts of areas of life. But if you're not careful, if you believe you're not enough, those things become your fig leaves trying to cover up what's going on inside. And we race around trying to do good stuff so that we'll be enough, all while inside we're feeling like we're not enough. Shame isn't something that you either have or you don't have. It's something you deal with or it deals with you. I don't care if you're a man, you're a woman, you're a dad, you're a son, you're a single, you're anything. It doesn't matter who you are in any realm of life. Shame is something that you will have to deal with or it will deal with you. It's not like there's a certain group of people that shame encounters and everyone else is safe. Shame is ever present. It's present anywhere in your life where you feel like you're not enough. And that can turn up in some really weird places. Even a subtle thought that if I just got that job promotion, that I'd be enough for my family. I need to do that so that my family will be okay. Or if I just lost some weight, I'd be enough. You know, I'd be a better person if I did that. Or if I began this thing, did this great thing, if I just did that, I would be okay. But until I get there, I'm short of okay. And many of us live our lives just short of okay, or believing that we are just short of okay. And like a carrot on a stick, every time we do something, we feel like it's moved further away. Shame isn't something you have or you don't have, it's something you deal with or it deals with you. And our reaction to shame is to isolate. It's to pull away, to run and hide, to buy new clothes, adjust the appearance, adjust our language, sometimes even adjust our convictions. To sow metaphorical fig leaves over who we really are. And I honestly believe that one of the most damaging things in our society today is shame. There are all sorts of problems that at a root cause have come from somebody feeling shame and not dealing with it well. And that shame has dealt with them. Shame is telling the young, the old, the mums, the dads, the singles, the Christians, the atheists, the rich, the poor, you, me, that we're not enough. Studies now suggest that shame is actually critical to the development of almost every mental health disorder. Isn't that crazy? I'm not talking about how we fix mental health, and I have a lot of personal relationships with people who are involved in that whole area and trying to do life. Mental health is a major thing that we're dealing with. What we're talking about is something that's been found to develop ongoing mental health problems. What if we could deal with something before it became a problem? What if we could rip the power out of what it is that's telling people that they're not enough? That's causing them to go on to live lives that are physically and mentally skewed because of this belief. Shame isn't something you have or you don't have, and I hope you get this. It's not the person next to you that needs to deal with it. It's not that person that you know that they don't really like themselves. I'm talking about you. You have to deal with shame. And you may deal with it well, and that's good. But if you don't deal with it, it will deal with you. So how do we deal with shame? Here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to know. Shame hates light. It hates it. Like shame, have you ever done something that you're like, oh, and that shame, like storm starts to brew, and you don't want to tell everybody what's just happened, do you? You want to hide. You want to find a really good dark corner. And I want to curl up, and I probably want to face the wall and pretend that nobody else is there. Shame loves the dark. It loves the corners. It loves to be away from where everybody else is, because where it's there, it's safe. But when you bring it out into the light, shame loses its power. It dissolves. It doesn't work. It can't. It's got no teeth anymore. Because shame only has teeth while you believe that it's going to affect other people's belief of you. And when you tell people about that shame, and when you share that shame, all of a sudden you rip the teeth out of it. It may be painful still, but it's not destructive. But I want to pause here and make a really important point. When we share our shame in the wrong environments, it not only has the capacity to continue, but it has the capacity to amplify. Unfortunately, this is the experience that many people have had. Yeah. They shared their shame and it didn't turn out well. They shared it in the wrong environment. I mean, I put a Facebook status up and everything. And we feel like, well, I've exposed it, so it's got to get better, right? But it gets so much worse. Because we've shared it in the wrong environment. Shame shared in the wrong environment doesn't just continue on, it amplifies, it grows, it gets worse. And so we have to be intentional and discriminate about the places and the spaces that we share our shame. Yeah. It has to be shared. It's not an excuse not to share it, but you must be discriminate. You have to be intentional. Because if you're just going to throw it out, you could be doing yourself more damage. Proverbs 13:3 tells us this: those who control their tongue will have a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything. Amen, amen. So what? You're telling me we just need to pretend that we're okay and live life not being authentic? No. There's a big difference between being authentic and being transparent. And we need to realize that many confuse transparency with authenticity. And they think that if they don't share everything with everyone, then they're not being authentic. But it's not real. That's not true. And we know that's not true. I sat on Lockie's lap this morning. He's run away because he knew exactly what I was about to do now. Imagine for a moment you pull up, you're going through the grocery line, and the poor 15-year-old girl is beeping your stuff through, and she says that question they always say. How you doing? How's your week? How's your day? And instead of going, like a normal person. You like rip out a bunch of bananas, chuck it on the conveyor belt, swipe the rest, lay down, and you go into a full therapy session. And you're like, wow, you should see my day. Like I discovered this morning that I think that my child is doing this, and you know what, I think I'm developing a rash, but I'm not sure if it's a rash or whether it's just the clothes that I'm wearing. And also I don't know whether my spouse is actually being honest with me. And the poor 15-year-old girl is like, oh. Can you imagine that in a shopping center? Wildly inappropriate. Not okay. If you plan to do that or have done that, stop. Please. I have to deal with those teenagers. It wrecks them. See, it would be transparent to do that with her. But see, being authentic doesn't require the same level of transparency with every relationship. You can be authentic with her by saying, you know what, I've had a really rough day. But I'm dealing with some stuff. You can be authentic by saying, you know what, it's been tough, but you know, there is hope. You can be authentic by telling exactly what's going on without having to go into the depths of everything that's going on in that environment. Yeah. Every relationship does not require the same level of transparency to be authentic. You need to do life authentic, but you don't need to be that level of transparent with everybody. Here's the difference between the two. Authenticity is sharing genuinely, it's the way that you share, whereas transparency is sharing deeply. It's the things that you share. And not everything that you need to share is appropriate to share with everybody. Yeah. You don't talk to your kids about some things, not because you don't care about them, because it's not appropriate. We do this all through life in healthy ways. Authenticity does not require the same level of transparency in every relationship. I hope that frees someone today. I hope that gives someone the power that they need to realize that there is hope in being authentic. There is hope in even transparency done in the right place at the right time. I wholeheartedly believe that you can find a healthy place for transparency right here. In this church, in this people right here, there is a healthy space for transparency and authenticity. But those relationships aren't something you can just turn on. Those relationships aren't something that just happen overnight. They're something that is grown. They are developed. They are learned. They are invested into. Those safe and healthy, transparent environments are done in spaces where you have put in time, energy, and effort into that relationship with that person. Because here's the thing, it's wildly dangerous to just throw out everything to anybody. But when you've invested and you know someone and you've got a group of people that know you, it becomes a really safe and healthy environment to actually share what's on your heart. And be able to say, hey, I feel like this. And to have a group of people that go, but that's not who you are. Instead of going, that sucks. You are dumb. You did stuff up. You are hopeless. You are. What if you were around a group of people that were able to identify, that's not who you are though. Yeah, you've made a mistake, but that's not who you are. What if you're around people that saw you? True compassion requires authentic connection. Authentic connection creates safe spaces and transparency. And it's in the light of these relationships that shame can't survive. See, it begins by an investment into relationship. It begins by not just turning up sometimes, not just being I'm kind of their person, but being I'm in and I'm their person. Yeah. That's where those environments are grown. So this morning, shame is a vampire. Like it loves the dark and it'll suck the life out of you. It's horrible. And if it's not dealt with, it'll take control of your life. In John 15, it says this. We're going to keep rolling. Who's with me still? Are you still awake?
Yeah.
Great. John 15, Jesus describes himself as the vine and those around him as the branches, telling us how we are separated from the vine and the other branches. When we are separated, we wither and die. He emphasizes the importance of remaining connected. I'm giving you the fast forward version. And then he says this, John 15:11. I have told you these things. Go back and read them yourself. I've told you these things so that you'll be filled with my joy. He's just given a whole spiel about how important it is to be connected. And he says, I've told you to be connected because it's going to fill you with joy. Yeah. And in fact, you're not just going to be joyful, you're going to be joy overflowing. And when you're connected to a life-giving vine, joy is going to be something that emits from you into the world around you. Being connected to God, it's not a requirement of us, it's a privilege. Yeah. Coming to church isn't a requirement of being a Christian, it's a privilege of being a Christian. Having godly environments, having small groups, it's not a requirement of My City Church. It's a privilege of My City Church. Being around people and getting into those environments is something that has to be done intentionally. Yeah. But it's also not a requirement, it's a privilege. We have the privilege of being around people who are going to give life to us. We have the privilege of turning up every week and hearing a message, of hearing encouragement, of hearing worship that's going to give us life and begin to tell us who we are. And we can sing songs that describe who we really are, when on the outside we feel like we're not really that type of person. It's a privilege to be in these spaces. You want a life that is overflowing with joy? Stay connected to the vine. Good. Stay connected to the vine. Our self-image is developed mainly from the images of ourselves that are reflected back to us, reflected by people, our culture, and our God. However, of these sources, 1 Corinthians tells us that God is the only one. He is the only one that actually knows who you are. Yeah. Everything else has a level of distortion to it, but the purest reflection of who you are is found in the presence of God. It's found when we reflect on God. It's found when we spend time in that environment with the one who created you, who knows you, who loves you, who pursues you, who wants to be in relationship with you. When you are spending time in that environment, you are going to get a reflection of who you really are. Yeah. You're going to understand and grow capable of seeing who you really are. And until we get into those environments regularly and passionately and intentionally, we're going to be left with distorted reflections, just making a guess who we really are. Yeah. When we become confident in our Creator's description of who we are, we become empowered to identify distorted images. Think about it. I mean, I hope you've never done this, but have you ever walked past one of those crazy mirrors and gone, oh my goodness, I'm bending. I need to fix that. Of course you don't. Because you know you're not bending. You don't have a 3-foot-long nose. That's not who you are, because you know you've spent time with a clearer reflection of who you are, so that when you walk past the distorted one, you don't suddenly have this anxiety attack that I'm 7 foot tall with no feet. You're like, haha, that's not who I am, but I look funny. What if we could do life like that? When someone tells you you're worthless, you're horrible, you're terrible, you know what? You're the worst worker I've got. You're horrible. And we go, that's not a man. It's funny though. What if we would live from a position where when somebody spoke out things that were from their distortion, from their damage, from their imperfections, that we were so confident that, you know what? That's not who I am. It's painful that you said those things, and that makes me sad, but you know what? I know that's not who I really am. And the dangerous thing is that too many of us don't spend and invest the time in the environment knowing who we really are. So when those things are spoken, we believe that that's who we actually are. I would encourage you to do anything this morning is this. Spend time with God.
Yeah.
Spend time with God and spend time with His people. Because that is where you're going to get the best representation of who you really, really are. Galatians 5 says this. I'm going to try and get through this last little bit here real quick. Tap your neighbor and say, wake up. Wake up. Galatians 5, 13, 14 says this. For you have been called into freedom, brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. When we develop healthy relationships, it's not just about us getting better, it's about our world getting better. When it's about just us, it's so small and insignificant. But here's the truth, is that when you discover who you are, the world around you becomes a better place. Why? Because you become a better reflector of who others truly are. When you know who you are, when you work on your distortions, you're able to interact with people and go, hey man, you're doing great. You are awesome. You are able to reflect others' true identity way, way better when you have spent time working on who you are. And so it's not just about loving ourselves, it's about loving others.
Yeah.
That's it. Healthy relationships are honestly often painful. When you get two pieces of sandpaper and you rub them together, they get smoother. Not in spite of the friction, but because of the friction. You're going to probably be uncomfortable in some of the healthy environments. Just going, this is uncomfortable, isn't an excuse to say this is not the right spot.
Sure.
We need to be careful that, you know what, that might be the exact spot you need to be. And you need to stop and ask the question, is this environment helping create an identity of myself? Is it helping reflect who God says I am? Is this environment breathing life into me? And if it is, like the gym, it hurts sometimes, but it's actually doing great things in the long term. I could go to the gym a couple of times and I'd probably look like this. But if I went every day, I'd look like Lucky. He's not here to even appreciate that. Here's the thing. When people connect with us, they should find the most extravagantly loving people they've ever met. That's it. That's what I want to finish on this morning. I've got another couple of little thoughts for you, but I want you to grab this. When they connect with you, they should meet the most extravagantly loving people they've ever met. Imagine when the elderly, the fatherless, the genderless, the sexually uncertain, the gender confused, you put in here the blank that whoever it is that feels like they're lacking, the unemployed, the relationless, those who felt like they weren't enough. What if those people felt so loved and so connected to this church, so connected to you, that they didn't even realize what they didn't have?
Yeah.
What if in the abundance of what you showed them they forgot the lack of what they believed they were?
Yeah.
You want to see people brought to life? You want to see people overcome their demons and their distractions and their things that you look at their life and you go, that's not you, and they can't believe it? Love them.
Yeah.
Give them incredible love. Reflect back to them who they are, who God's created them to be. What if when shame met you, shame met light?
Yeah.
We all need a small group of loving people, a place to belong. I love this church because you belong here. It's not about fitting in. Fitting in says I need to adjust who I am, I need to tweak who I am, I need to dress a certain way, I need to act a certain way so I can fit in around here. You don't fit in at My City, you belong at My City.
Yeah.
Belonging is about turning up with all that I am, who I am, and being able to be here as me. That's belonging. All of us crave belonging. And we feed it the sugar of fitting in. And all it does is leave us with cavities in our heart. You belong here. You belong around people that are going to feed life into you. You belong in a group. You being you in a space where people can see you even when you can't. I'm going to ask the team to come up. Someone here today needs to take a stand. And maybe I'll just get you to stand to your feet. You finish right here. Someone here needs to take a step. And it's not about attending church. It's not about being more religious. It's not about getting my life back together. This is about a personal relationship with a God who created you. A God who knows you completely. A God who loves and adores you, who pursues you, who wants you. A God who is in love with you. A God who will reflect back to you who you really are. If you've never made that step, if you've never asked God to, please God, like just come into my life. It's not about the words that you speak right now. It's not about some special prayer or a 6-stage program you need to go through. This is about just making a heart decision right now. To say, God, I want to get to know you. God, I need to get to know you. Because I need to get to know me. Because this world needs me to be me. As every eye is closed here, if you've never made that commitment to begin a relationship with God who loves you, if you've never taken that step, that's going to take a boldness. Being real and staying real is going to be one of the biggest battles of your life. If you're here and you've never made that commitment, you want to start that relationship. You want to head into that place where you would know who you are. If that's you, as every eye is closed, raise your hand boldly. Raise your hand right now. Say, that's me. I'm not going to call you out of front. I'm not going to embarrass you or do anything like that. But I want you to make a commitment for you right now and say, hey, God, that's me. If that's you here this morning, raise your hand with boldness and say, God, I make a commitment right now to learn more about who you are. If that's you here this morning, raise your hand. Do it. Don't make excuses. Life is on the other side of the relationship. Pray with those people making that call this morning. God, I just thank you so much that you are a loving God, that you are a knowing God, and right here in this space right now, I know you see the hearts and minds of people in this room. You see the battles that are going on. And Lord, right now we call for life. Those who have believed that they are dead for too long. Father, we ask for forgiveness for the things that we've done wrong. And right now, I make a commitment in a relationship with you. I want to invest into life. Keep your eyes closed for just a moment. There's one more group of people here that I want to talk to, and you've made that decision. You've got a relationship with God, but for whatever reason, you're doing life feeling like you're restricted, feeling like you're held back, feeling like there's a weight on your life, feeling like you are less than. And you don't understand, because when I asked God into my life, I thought He was supposed to take His stuff away. James 5 says this, are any of you suffering hardships? Pray. In other words, spend time reflecting on God. I read this week that in just 12 minutes of daily focused prayer over an 8-week period can change the brain to such an extent it's noticeable on a brain scan. Prayer changes things. Not just in the physical, but it'll change your life. If any of you are suffering hardships, you should pray. If you're here this morning, you're feeling like there is a hardship on your life, don't go home without having prayer here in this space this morning. In other words, connect with God. I need to be happy to sing praises. I need to sit call for the elders to pray over you, anoint you with oil in the name of the Lord. Such a prayer, often in faith, will heal the sick, and the Lord will make you well. If you've committed any sins, you'll be forgiven. Confess your sins to each other and pray for each other that you may be healed. The earnest prayer of a righteous person has great power and produces wonderful results. There are people here today that have experienced salvation but not freedom. And I want to speak to you. James 5 reminds us that our forgiveness is found in God, but our freedom is found in His people. I don't want you to go home without being free. I don't want you to leave this space without being free. If any of you are experiencing hardships, do something bold this morning and pray. Do something brave this morning and come forward and pray with a group of people who want to believe the best in you, who want to see the best in you, who want to call out the real you in you. It's right here, right now that we deal with the stuff that's holding us back. I want to ask you this question. What's been stopping you experiencing you? What is it? What is it? It's that one thing. That one thing. It's that habit, that addiction, that secret that you've only shared with God. I want to tell you that the healing you're longing for isn't found in just confessing it to God, but it's found in engaging and interacting with a healthy environment of God-loving people. Find freedom. Don't walk out of here without it. As we sing this next song, confess your sins to each other so that we can pray for each other that you may be healed. Our forgiveness is found in God, freedom is found in His people. Stop reasoning yourself out of a fulfilled life. That should even right now begin to step forward. Your people are here. Begin the process of being consistent and engaged. It begins with one step right now. Deep relationships are healing relationships. That you need the church and the church needs you. The quality of your relationships will determine the quality of your life. And right here in this space is the opportunity for us to find healing. If that's you here this morning, we're going to sing. We're also going to create a space for prayer. Step out now. Be bold. Being real is going to be one of the biggest battles in your life. And it's going to take moment by moment. Overcoming the doubt, fear. What if I went out there and someone thought something was wrong with me? What if I asked for prayer and someone thought I didn't have my life together? What if I stop reasoning yourself out of it? As we sing right now, step. Take a step. Take a step. Take a step. You're here this morning. Take a step and receive prayer. There's people here that want to pray with you. I want to pray with you. Come forward and find freedom.